Hello everyone and welcome back to our Silver Moments. My name is Colleen. If you're new to the channel, I hope that you'll take a moment to have a view of this video and maybe look at a few others and subscribe to the channel and like this video. That would be really helpful for me. Today I am going to work on canning applesauce. I'm going to make the applesauce and take you through the steps. And I'm working with a new, to me, method of doing this that I am really sure will cut down the time that it takes for me to make a batch of applesauce, because it can be quite a laborious task. And today I'm going to show you how to use the vegetable and fruit strainer attachment for the KitchenAid mixer. And I think that you might be interested in this. So I will gather everything up and get it here into one place so that you can view it with me. And some of this I'll have to do a voiceover because the machine is loud, and when I put the hot water bath counter onto the stove, it gets loud as well. So I will do some voiceovers, but I'm happy to have you along with me today. So I'll be right back after this. Now the first thing that I'm going to do today, whoops, let me shut the water off. So the first part of this exercise is just to give the apples a really good wash and make sure that their skins are clean. We're not going to be using the skins, but still, because everything is all processed together, we want to make sure that the skins are nice and clean and that any bruises or bad spots are removed. So I'm going to just put these in the sink, give them a good wash, and then I'll be right back. So what I've done today is I've just gone to the grocery store and purchased 6 pounds of apples. I have no idea how far I will get with this because I don't know how many apples it's going to take to fill my pot or to fill my jars. So it's like we're doing this together. So I noticed that some of these Honeycrisp ones, although I didn't see it on the bag, have got a bit of a bad spot on them. And I'm just going to remove any bad spots that I see. And then I'm going to cut these, seeds and all, into smaller chunks. I'm just putting them all in the pot, skins and all, seeds and all, because our fruit and vegetable strainer will take care of all of the parts that we don't want. It kind of works like a little bit of magic without anywhere near the work on our part. So I'm just going to proceed and see how far I get. So I have my pot full right to the top. I could probably heap these up, but I'm not going to because I need to keep turning these apples while they're cooking down. I want to now put them on the stove and cook them until they're fork tender. And I ended up with 3 of the small apples left over. So probably close to a pound, no, maybe a half a pound of apples left. So about 5.5 pounds of apples into this pot. Now I'm just going to add a cup of water to this, maybe a cup and a half, just to get it started. And then I'm going to put it onto the stove and I will show you what it looks like during the process. So I thought while the apples were just getting finished over there, I would show you the process of putting this KitchenAid fruit and vegetable strainer together. And I have moved from my normal high island to my little kitchen table because the process, once I get all the parts on here, makes it so high. It's hard for me to feed the food into the top of it. So the 2 things that you'll need to make this work are the meat grinder and the fruit and vegetable strainer set. you need parts from the meat grinder in order for the fruit and vegetable strainer to work. So the first thing that we need to do is to unscrew the screw and remove this little cap that covers the end, set it aside, and then we'll start with the pieces. I'll try and make sure I'm showing them to you, all of them to you. So this piece is from the meat grinder, and you need to take the normal auger out that you use for the meat grinder, and we'll start fresh with parts from the fruit and vegetable strainer kit. So you need the two kits. So this goes through here and then into the machine, and we're going to screw that down using the screw that's there on the auger. And as we build this up, I can see I'm going to have to raise you a little bit, but for right now I'm going to keep you right there. So the next part we need is this long auger. This is the auger that comes with the set, and it goes on in here like so, and you can feel the spring from the rod inside. And this is the strainer part of the fruit and strainer set, and it has little notches on it, and they notch right into the hub here of the meat grinder, so you can't get that wrong. It might take me a few tries to get it right, but you can't get it wrong. And then this nut holds it all in place, and this nut is part of the meat grinder assembly. So I'm just going to hold pressure on there with one hand while I attempt to screw this on with the other hand. There we go. And those places are in their correct position now. So the food goes in here, and it gets spun in the auger to mix it up, like so, and then it's strained, and out through the end will come the pulp, and into a separate container goes or I should say the pits and skins, and into a separate container will go the pulp. So then we need this device from the fruit and vegetable straining set, and it goes on here like so, and the end is exposed over here for that auger piece to stick out a little bit. It has a splatter guard that goes on top here, and then the delivery system. So this is the pan on the top that we put the food in. So I'm just going to move the camera now that you've seen all the parts go together. I'll move the camera so you can see how tall it is when it's all together. There you go. Now you should be able to see it all. So this is what it looks like when it's all together, and I am just going to get a couple of containers so that you can see how we have to do the setup to make this all work. So I will be right back. So this is what the setup will look like a bit. So I've just used my big 8-cup measuring cup here to catch the pulp, and a little steel bowl to catch the seeds and skin and so forth. So as soon as these apples cool down a little bit, I'll be back and we'll move on to how this works. This is what the pulp looks like before we start to put it through the machine. I just thought you might like, you know, a visual of that. I've cooked it down quite a bit, but this is what it looks like. Now I'm just going to begin this process, and I'm going to show you how it works and what everything looks like, but I'm going to be voicing over most of this because this really does make a racket, and you won't be able to hear me talk anyway. So just watch me get started. Now, as you can see here, I've turned the machine on. I've set the setting to 4, and I'm starting to feed the softened apples into the hopper. And I'm extremely right-handed, so this is a bit of a difficult task for me using my left hand with the cup. But I've got my counter up close by, and I'm just working from the pot that they were in. I didn't dirty anything else, and you will be able to see that if you're looking at the end of the machine, you can see the little pellets of the dried skins and cores just falling into the bowl on the far side, and the wonderful pure pulp of the apples falling into the near one. Now at this point it looks a bit dry, or sorry, a bit moist, but it's really not. And you'll notice as the process goes on that that it's thicker and thicker. And I really believe that this is a game changer for my kitchen, at least, and maybe you would find it the same way, but you can see how quickly I'm moving through this process. There's no mashing involved. There's no peeling. There's no coring. There's no chopping, other than just chopping the apples into chunks. It is definitely a time saver, and it happens so fast that I haven't worried about adding any kind of fruit keeper or anything to keep the apples a good color, because it just happens so fast that it's not something that you have to worry about. I am so pleased, and I'm thinking that there are lots of other people out there that would be just as interested in this as I am. I am absolutely thrilled with the result. It took me about, I'm going to say, maybe 3 minutes to process those apples, maybe, if it was that much. Just the longest part really was cooking them down in the pot. So when I put them in the pot on the stove, I added 1.5 cups of water, and then I just let them cook down, and I kept turning them frequently. But here you can see I've moved so that you can get a little better view here of what's going on. And the pot, you can also see why I left the bowl underneath right here. That little thing going around it kind of disconcerts me. If you had any loose clothing on, or you got too close to it, it could give you quite a fix. See how thick that is? Like, it is really, really thick and beautiful and pure. And I'm just going to take this off. There you go. You can see how it's been squeezed out through the end of the machine, and I'm just clearing the stuff that's still stuck onto the screen, and I am just adding it to the bowl. And I'm going to be able to just take all of these parts, take them apart, and I am going to be able to rinse them. I'm going to rinse them good and then put them in the dishwasher. But before I do that, I'm actually going to run the pulp through again, like the seeds and the seeds part. I'm going to run that through because there's, even though it's already been separated once, there's still a lot of juice left in this mix. So there you go, folks. That is how easy that is. Here I am set up at my stove, and I do have the canner started, but it's not making a lot of noise yet. So I am going to just go ahead here until it does start making noise and work on this process. I can't believe how wonderful this applesauce looks. Like, I think it's just beautiful. It's smooth. There's no pits, no seeds, no nothing in it. And it's very thick. So I used 1.5 cups of water, which I would do again, but you kind of have to keep an eye on it, because each apple that you're going to work with will have a different water content too. So some of them will come with a lot of their own water. Now, I'm just going to turn this on to like a medium heat for the moment. And to this, just to help with color and acidity, although you don't need to add any acidity to apples because they're from the fruit family, but I'm going to add 1/3 of a cup of lemon juice. And I think that'll help with the flavor as well. It'll brighten it up. And then I'm going to do what cooks around the world have been doing forever and ever. And I'm going to grab a spoon and I'm going to taste it now. Because honestly, our palate is our best tool. Oh, that's really good. I would like it a little sweeter, but I don't want to over sweeten it, so I'm going to add 1/2 cup of brown sugar in here and give it a stir. Mix it in good, and then I'm going to taste it again. I don't want to put too much sugar in it for sure. I don't like it really tart, but I also don't think that we need to have it overly sweet. I'm just going to taste it again. That's good. Now, a little ingredient that I added last year to my applesauce, and it was fantastic, was some vanilla. So I'm going to add a teaspoon of vanilla to this, stir and taste, and see if that was enough of that. I'm guessing that it is, just from what I used last year, but again, because the apples are all different, we have to keep testing for sure. That's perfect. That is just delightful. So what I'm going to do with this now is I'm going to heat it right up. Bring it to just so that it's boiling, just about boiling. And I'm going to stir it like mad because I don't want it sticking to the bottom of my pot, and I don't want to lose it. And then I'll carry on with the filling the jars. I'll see you soon. So I'm just set back up again at my island, and I have got the hot applesauce right here. I've got my funnel, my lids, my rings, my seals, and I'm just taking the jars out of the hot water in the sink. I'm going to use the funnel, and I am going to just use the scoop to scoop into these jars. Now the measuring cup that this all went into said that I had around 9 cups, which should be about 4 pints with a bit left over, I think. And I'm just gonna bang that down. Make sure that it's about 1 inch. That's where I want it to be. And I'll set this jar over here. I'm just going to wipe the edges to make sure I didn't get any on there. Then I'm going to pop these rinsed seals on. Better maybe, I see a little air in there, so I think I'm going to debubble this. I'm just going to debubble these jars because I do see quite a bit of bubbling down in there, and I'm going to take my time and go around each jar and make sure I have as many of the bubbles out as I can get, because this is really, really thick and it would be easy for bubbles to hide down there in the bottom. So let's make sure we do a good job of that. There we go, I feel better about that now. There. And then I'm going to use my rinsed seals. Oh, I better just double check this rim again. My washed and rinsed seals, and my rings go on a little better than fingertip tight. No, probably fingertip tight. I could get it off and on with my fingertips. And then I'm just going to move on to the next jar. And after this comes out of the canner, I'm going to bring you back so that you can have a look at the finished product. Well, here's the final product out of the canner. I'm not sure that I said how long it should be in the canner. I left these pint jars in the water bath canner for 20 minutes. So when I had hot jars, hot applesauce into hot water in the canner, which after I got the jars in, I put the lid on and I brought it up to a full rolling boil, and then I timed off 20 minutes. And I think that the result speaks for itself. It is a beautiful applesauce, and I can't wait to get busy and try some other things with this attachment for the KitchenAid. Next up, I think, will be tomato sauce. And I'm so looking forward to it. I hope that you have learned something here today and that you've enjoyed what you saw. And if you have, that you will consider subscribing to my channel and giving it a thumbs up. That would be fantastic. So I hope the rest of your day goes really well, and I look forward to being here with you again soon. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.